Y'all are welcome to sing along. It's a little different today. Say it's all right. It's all right. It's all right. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right to have a little fun. Yeah, it's all right. Oh, it's all right. We're gonna move it slow when the lights are low. When you move slow, it sounds like more. Yeah, it's all right. Oh, it's all right. You got to listen to the beat. And just tap your feet. 'Cause you got soul, everybody knows it. It's all right. Oh, it's all right. When you wake up early in the morning, feeling sad like so many people do, hum a little song, make your life go. Surely something's gonna come to you. 'Cause it's all right. It's all right. Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's all right to have a good time. Yeah, it's all right. Oh, it's all right. 'Cause you've got soul and everybody knows, yeah, that it's all right. Oh, it's all right. Good job.
Nice job, you guys. There's some singers out there today. So welcome to all of you. Happy Father's Day for those of you who are fathers, those of you who have a father, and for any clones out there as well. I'll be your dad for the day, you little clones out there. All right, so it's good to have you joining us here in the sanctuary and online. So it's good to be back. And my name is Reverend Dr. Michael McMorrow. I'm the spiritual director here at the Center for Spiritual Living in Granada Hills, California. We're located in the North San Fernando Valley, if you know where that's at, which is about 40 minutes north of LAX on a Sunday, but 3 hours on a Friday evening. So, and we're also joined with the wonderful Teresa James as our musical inspiration. And our wonderful assistant minister, Reverend Nancy Woods. Yeah. All right, so let's just start by taking a deep breath. And on that exhale, just feel the release as we allow ourselves to surrender into this moment, this eternal now moment, as we come together for our call to service, which we call Lighting the Flames of Faith. And we perform this ceremony to promote the universal consciousness of life, which acknowledges that all peoples, all faiths, all sentient beings come from the one great universal presence, which we call Spirit. Now, fundamental to this truth is a unifying nature of all religious thought and experience, which we honor here this morning. So as Reverend Nancy lights the first candle, it's for the Tao, honoring the universal path of harmony and equilibrium, the natural way. We light the second candle for shamanic traditions, honoring the beliefs and practices of all indigenous peoples, the way of primal spirituality. The third candle we light for Hinduism, honoring the path of knowledge, action, and devotion. We light the fourth candle for Judaism, honoring the ethical path of living by sacred law. The fifth candle we light for all forms of Buddhism, honoring the Four Noble Truths and the path of compassion. The sixth candle we light for all forms of Christianity, honoring the Christ consciousness as the path of love. The seventh candle we light for all forms of Islam, honoring the path of submission to the will of God as the highest calling. We light the 8th candle for the universalistic religion of Baha'i, honoring the path of unity and peace. We light the 9th candle for all forms of New Thought, honoring the metaphysical path of mental healing through the practice of universal spiritual principles. The 10th candle we light for all those who are as yet unaware of the power and presence of Spirit in their lives, and for the space we hold for them here in our sanctuary, within our online community, and of course, within our own hearts. And as Reverend Nancy lights the healing candle, please put silently into the light on this Father's Day. Place into the light the names of anyone you wish to have experience the healing flame of God's eternal love.
There is one flame that burns in our hearts. There is one light that shines through our love. We light this flame with faith. We find this light within our own soul. There is one flame, one light within.
Oh, we do recognize that this flame within is that divine presence, that all-knowing power that brought everything in existence. The one creative energy of the universe, all-knowing, all-powerful, truly everywhere present. As we recognize and understand that this infinite intelligence has brought all of us together today for this hour to be a blessing for each one of us. To know that every soul that is here, every soul that is online, every soul that experiences this hour is blessed with an expanded understanding and awareness of the truth of their being. And as we step into this idea and understanding that we are expanding our awareness of who and what we are, we step into the idea that we are avenues through which the creative expression of life bring newness into expression. So the greater good that comes forth from us, through us, and as us is that infinite intelligence saying yes to life. So we willingly surrender to that idea and understanding, to embrace it in such a way that the newness becomes a flow of life. And as we rejoice in the opportunity to be this, to understand and know this, and to live this, we say thank you. Thank you, thank you. For the gratitude goes on and on. So as we accept this, know this, and let it be so. We are united in this awareness and this understanding as we say together, and so it is. Good morning. How is everybody? I know you're great already, but just an acknowledgement of it. And I'm grateful to be here, and I'm grateful that I am able to experience life in an environment in which all the souls are on a spiritual path with me. So I want to say thank you for that. And I'd like to share also that I'm realizing that there are many, many, many people on this path with us. I've had a wondrous week of experiencing some other teachers. So I've been taking classes and workshops. Just, you know, the internet brings you all kinds of classes and all kinds of experience. And I was sharing earlier, one of them was, I was on a 12-step program that was all of the country. It's an AA program. And it was 1,000 people in attendance. I don't know, that's a lot of people in one meeting. But the thing about it is that there were 4 women that spoke, and each one of them, combined, they had 263 years clean. So I said they were a wealth of knowledge as far as I was concerned. And some of the things that they shared, I really had to appreciate, because what they shared was the wonder and the beauty of the creativity of the Spirit when it brought a 12-step program into expression, and for how many souls that it was able to reach. And then I was in another class, and the person that was facilitating told me that we recognize the spiritual presence of life. And in that recognition, we step into the treatment as we do a treatment and that affirmative prayer. We say it from that place of that recognition of knowing that the divine is absolutely everything, including us. And then there were other nuggets that came along that were just, it was like another one was telling us all the wondrous ideas and concept of how the Spirit flows through the brain into expression through us. And, you know, I went back and read some of Holmes' stuff, and I realized that Ernest Holmes summed up a lot of this stuff that all the rest of them are talking about. He summed it up, put it together in such a profound way that they've taken the nuggets from him and just making a whole study of it, of how the brain can do this and how the mind can do this and how we all create. So we are in this philosophy, and we are in a philosophy that I feel like is a foundation on which society is beginning to understand and become more aware of who and what they are, the truth of their being, to understand and realize that we all come from that one power, one sound, one energy, oneness of all the universe. But it comes in so many ways. It's infinite in its potential and what it brings forth. And it's just glorious to realize this, because, you know, it makes you sit back and realize, oh, it can be any path, but we all gonna go to the same place. And I really appreciate the fact that we start our service with that recognition, because we are all from the same powerful, all-knowing newness of universe. And we can let go and allow this newness to blossom individually. And we have the opportunity to bring newness into expression, moment by moment, for every life in here. Oh, this demonstration is a wondrous thing to know. Wondrous. So we're going to be blessed with more of it through the music and the message. So let's know that we are here for a divine event. And thank you for letting me share that.
Here's a song for fathers. I will ride on your shoulders, look out on the world, pretending I was big and tall like you. When you were there to hold me, I never was afraid. You made me feel there's nothing I can't do. If I'd spread my wings to fly when I was very small, I knew that you'd be standing by to catch me if I fall. And you're my hero, chasing the monsters from my room, going on trips around the moon. The one who's always been there faithfully. You're my hero, 'cause you're my dad. I'm twice as blessed and lucky to be me. As I kept growing older, we'd often disagree, but you let me find myself in my own way. And it's funny how just lately I've come to recognize how wise you are becoming every day. There's so much you've given me. I hope I've made you proud. You're everything a dad should be, and it's time to tell you now. You're my hero. You didn't have to say a word. Your love was the message that I heard, inspiring me to be all I can be. Yes, you're my hero, 'cause you're my dad. I'm twice as blessed and lucky to be me.
I told you. Isn't it beautiful? It's beautiful. Thank you, Teresa. Just wonderful. Okay. So, announcements for today. 2-minute tune-up. If you have something that you want to expand or express even greater, there is always a practitioner available after the service for a 2-minute tune-up, and it's quite a few practitioners here today, so raise your hand, practitioners, so that if there's a tune-up, somebody can step into it even more. Okay, and there is always a practitioner online at CSLGH. And I'm supposed to say Happy Father's Day for all of you guys. All you wonderful fathers. Okay. So there's a youth church the first and third Sunday at 10:30, and you contact Reverend Nicole if you have some youth that wants to participate, of how you can bring them in, please. And today with Reverend Kathy, you're going to have Anna McKinship at 1 o'clock. So if you want to share an experience with your animal friends, any pet that you have, that starts at 1 o'clock on Zoom. Sangha is starting a new class on Wednesday, June the 21st at 9:30, and that is also with Reverend Nicole. And if you're interested in meeting, it's a ongoing, wonderful group, and they cover everything good. Are you still on kindness, or are you going to something else? Waking your creativity. Oh, we all can use that, huh? And we have a fundraiser with a ring. So, and it's the drawing is this is the 21st. I want to encourage you to buy your tickets if you haven't bought them. They are available after service, and the people that, as Nikki and myself, are selling tickets for the ring. Oh, I would tell you that I was winning it, but if I tell you, you might not buy a ticket. Oh, I thought it was me. Okay. All right. So on the July the 9th, we're going to have a potluck brunch with Reverend Mike. And so if you want to participate, see Reverend, getting ready to revenue. See Beverly Scott, who is in charge of that. There's a sign-up sheet if you want to bring something and participate. And this summer, Jenny and Reverend Nicole are having a workshop for kids, and it's Summer Kids Theater. It's something Jenny did before she came here. So if you have any kids that are interested, that want to participate in something like this, have a desire to be in the industry, you can contact Reverend Nicole at CSLGH@gmail.com. So that's my announcements, and I would ask you to stand and say the Declaration of Principles with me. We believe in one universal spirit manifesting through all, natural and incarnate in us. We believe that the universal spirit is personal to and reveals itself through everyone who recognizes its presence. We believe that our faith operates upon a law of mind which automatically manifests in our experience according to that faith. We believe in the unity of all life, in the immortality of the individual soul forever expanding. We believe in eternal goodness, eternal loving kindness, and the givenness of life to all.
Y'all sing with me now. Heaven's inside of me. Heaven's inside of me. With spirit and nature, within and without. Now that I know that God's right here, right now. Heaven's inside of me. Heaven's inside of you. Heaven's inside of you. With spirit and nature, within and without. Now that I know that God's right here, right now. Yeah, heaven's inside of you. Heaven's inside of us. Heaven's inside of us. Oh, with spirit and nature, within and without. Now that I know that God's right here, right now. Heaven's inside of us. One more time, y'all. Heaven's inside of us. Heaven's inside of us. Oh, with spirit and nature, within and without. Now that I know that God's right here, right now. Heaven's inside of us. Heaven's inside of us.
All right. Nice singing today. Yeah, go ahead, give yourselves a hand. Give them some love in the chat. So yeah, happy Father's Day. I'm remembering my own father today. I know some of you, like me, our parents have passed on to the next realm. And so we remember them. I also remember some folks, let's say, had unfinished business with their fathers, right? And so we can heal that, see the wholeness within that experience, that we no longer have to be bound in any way by that. I was blessed in that my own father, he was not perfect, but, he mellowed nicely with age, like a fine wine. And my son asked me if I struggled with that. And I have to say I don't, only because we left on good terms, right? He loved me, I loved him, and we both knew it and weren't afraid to say it, which is nice. So, and I have a bunch of brothers, and they're all fathers. I think I counted 15 grandchildren. Yeah. So, yeah, that's progeny. Not like Reverend Nancy progeny. I guess she's got a big family too. But anyway. And I do want to extend a big thank you to both Reverend Nancy and Reverend Nicole for stepping up while I was away, and Dr. Maureen as well while I've been on vacation, for those of you who may not know, for the last couple of weeks. And I'm in gratitude to you, the congregation, for supporting me as your minister, where I have paid time off. I actually have paid vacation time. And that is not the norm, sorry to say, in most ministries, not just religious science. And so I'm very appreciative of that and was very aware of that while we had some time off. And really, I took the time to unplug. So if you've sent me emails, I'm not blowing you off. I just did not check email. In fact, I haven't checked it yet because I didn't want to get, I needed to stay focused on getting this message pulled together today. And so I am deeply grateful. And then I come home for this theme of self-care, which I have to say, I'm kind of getting my head around the self-care thing, maybe since coming to ministry. I understand how important it is because I used to think, oh, what a bunch of crybabies, self-care. Because I have found, so many people are very self-involved. So what do they mean by self-care? But self-care is not about self-involvement. And we'll talk about that a little bit more. And that self-care is part of spiritual practice. And that pleasure, right? So the talk title today is Pleasure. And when I saw that, I just kind of went, oh, brother, pleasure. But, it's pleasure in, not in that... this is the dawning of the age of Aquarius. Not that, right? Not the Grateful Dead love fest that I watched many of you engage in your youth. Not that I was there. So we're not talking about that. But it is good to go back to visit the ancients. So Epicurus, Greek philosopher, 300 BCE-ish. Pleasure is the first good. It is the beginning of every choice and every aversion. Every choice, now that sounds more like Buddhism, doesn't it? Every choice, every aversion. It is the absence of pain in the body and of troubles in the soul. So very basic idea of pleasure. And of course, most of us are aware of Epicurus. If you're an epicure with food, you're a foodie. But if you've got a Ivy League education, you're an epicure and not a foodie. So, thank you, Brent. All right. So I'm coming home. I'm coming home to this monthly theme of self-care, and it's fresh on my mind because for years I was not one of those who took vacation. Not because I didn't want to, but because I was self-employed. And for self-employed people, there is vacation time, and then there's the lost revenue of not working. So it was kind of the double whammy. So I developed this idea that there's never a good time to take vacation. You're nodding your head, Steve. So I'll give you an example in my own life of how my own thinking around this changed, and that was years ago. That's a past wife regression here. We got one of those. We got one of those notices in the mail, right? A free trip to Palm Springs. Now, mind you, I have no interest in Palm Springs. I grew up out at Edwards Air Force Base, and to me, it's just another version of that without airplanes, way hotter and way more expensive. Yeah. And so we went to, the invitation was extended by Mr. Marriott, and so we went out there, and of course we coached each other up. Okay, well, it's no, because you have to sit through the presentation for the timeshare, yeah? Anybody else done this? Mm-hmm. Yeah, at least once, right? Yeah, once, right. So you get in there, and we're like, okay, so remember, the answer is no. Let's practice. No, we're looking at each other. No. And we get in there, and about 5 minutes into the presentation, I see my wife's resolve is starting to become a maybe. And so they bring in the closer, right? And she comes in, well, what do we have here, a workaholic? And so I got really annoyed with that because I didn't really think I was a workaholic. I just, because I took Saturdays off. And then she went on to explain how most of her clients have at least 3 weeks vacation. And so this was one of the ways to ensure that you took vacation. Well, that's all my wife needed to hear. But it was still no. And I slept on the couch that night. Mr. Marriott's couch. Now, this was actually the beginning of my realization that for self-employed people, there really is not a good time to take time off. And so much so that I would send the wife and kids off while I worked at my job, and also at working on creating an elaborate resentment for when everyone got home as well. Now, this was one of the things that I got to unpack when I came to this science of mind philosophy. To hear that we are 100% responsible for our life, that it is our thinking that creates our reality, this can be a very exhilarating idea, right? It gives us a sense of power. But it can also be a very terrifying proposition as well. Exhilarating in that we learn that we have an opportunity to reframe or even rebuild our life. And terrifying because we have an opportunity to reframe and even rebuild our life. Until we understand that what's really going on here is not something psychological, but rather spiritual. That we are co-creating with an inexhaustible, wildly creative source of all that is. And so after I finished, as we all do when we come to, well, I shouldn't say we all do, many of us, when we come to a teaching like this, when I was finished with the how did I create this mess conversation, that took a couple of years, I realized that when it came to this vacation idea that I really had to change my language around there's no good time to take vacation. Now, this does not mean it wasn't still true. And at the same time, I wanted a vision. My new vision for my life was that I wanted to make an annual vacation part of my life going forward, because I'm in my mid-40s and I've never been on vacation. I'd never had a new car until I got into like a new car. Like off the lot, lost $3,000 value when I drove it off kind of new car, right? Because deserving was part of my story, or lack of. That was one of the things that I had to get my mind around. So, I needed to change my thinking about what I was saying about vacation. And I may not be able to pull off this annual vacation yet, but I can certainly change my language around it. And so my affirmation became not that there's no good time to take a vacation. That was still part of it. There's no good time to take a vacation, but I'm going to take it anyway. I'm going to take it anyway, because I realized that no one else was going to make this time for me. This is a subtle thing. I mean, I'm sure all of you figured this one out in the 10th grade, but not me. So now the next step for me was to put it on the calendar, which I did, months out, right? I sent the intention, months out. Now there's an interesting lesson here within this as well, using this as an example of the continuum of consciousness and how our thinking evolves and revolves around things. The interesting lesson here that when you schedule things out, that vacation you think you can't afford is actually almost paid for by the time you get it, because you're paying for it before you leave. At least the more expensive bits. Now, vacation, I'm talking about, maybe airfare. Like I finally went to Hawaii, which is nice. And the other thing that I found is that when you get back, the world continued to turn. It went on just fine without me. And my company kept moving forward relatively well. And that after I had some rest and some time to clear the mind, I was much more effective in the days afterwards, including playing, the catch-up that we can all relate to, yeah? And the other lesson here is that in order to be creative, and we're all, whether we understand it or not, we are all creative beings. Whether it's creating something to eat out of whatever you have in the refrigerator, if it's figuring out a new way to promote your product in online or social media, if it's how to be more loving with someone who really challenges you, right? How to be more kind-hearted in the office with that crabby Applegate at the end of the cubicle, right? We're always engaging with creativity. But in order to be creative, we must make the time to recreate. So recreate is the root word in the word recreation, right? So we have to make the time to be able to step back out of our life in the small bits and in extended time. Now, I would not, back in the day, thought of vacation as self-care. I don't even know, like I said, up until a few years ago, to realize that vacation is self-care. And all of us need some time off, even those who are so-called retired. And I'm bringing this up because I know a lot of you are retired, and I see that you guys are running crazy out there with only, now you're doing other things, right? You may not be running down the paycheck, but you're running down your commitments and your interests and hopefully things that you love doing. And so we all need time off. And I also want to say that oftentimes retreats don't really even count, because unless you are getting a lot of rest in the process. But if you're going on a retreat where you are meditating like 5 hours a day and then left alone with your thoughts the rest of the time for like 10 days, that's a workout. And even monks need a vacation, right? Now, I realize that this vacation thing really is a first world quality problem. And it certainly was not the first thing I tackled when I was new to the teaching. But it is important to remember that to live our most effective life, we are attuning to that which is greater than we are alone, which is not easily done when we are weighed down with the concerns of the world. So if we are looking for love and friendship, maybe perhaps a path forward in our career, or we find ourselves temporarily mired in confusion or frustration of what's next, in whatever way that we are looking to up-level our life. And how do you know if you're looking to up-level your life in some way? Is that there's a little itch of discontent in there somewhere that's either named or unnamed, but it's there. There is a power for good in the universe available to everyone, and we can use it, but we have to use it. This is not a passive teaching. We must engage with the creative source of life, this creative impulse, this intelligence, which has all the aspects of life: beauty, truth, love. So in this way, then, the work really does not become designing per se, but rather to explore ways to attune ourselves to the divine song that is already within us. In fact, it's been there the whole time. As soon as the sperm hit the egg, man, the divine impulse of life was unleashed within the womb of your mother. The intelligence. I love speaking to the ancients and the wisdom of the ancients to use it as an example of this continuum of consciousness that has come before us. But you are the continuum of consciousness of all the wisdom and intelligence and love and trauma and struggle and all the great things of life from generation to generation through generation, 2,300 years ago, where we learned that pleasure is the first good. And Holmes himself said is that we've learned all about life from struggle that we need to. It's time to stop struggling and instead to attune to that power of the universe greater than we are alone, to use it to co-create the life of our wildest dreams, or even just a dream that's a little wilder than the one that you may have woke up with today. To use it for everything. So this divine song is already within us. It's simply been drowned out by the din and noise of the world, a cacophony of distractions snagging us into little psychological pro-con lists and judgments about how we could be better if we just do more. And this may or may not be effective. I've spent time on the couch. I have found therapy to be therapeutic and worthwhile. I'm not knocking that. But that's only part of what we're doing here. I think sometimes in the science of mind, we can get so mesmerized by the world, right? So when we come in here, we're taught that there's a power for good in the universe, that we can use it to affect change in our life for good, and that what we hear is that we can have anything we want. But that's not really true, right? How much of how much of the good of life can we have? As much as we can embody. We must have the consciousness to attract it and the consciousness to support it. Right? So I'll give you probably the most base example of that is if I'm a 300-pound couch potato and I want to attract to me a young, fit workout queen, size 4 workout queen, right? In God's world, it's in the infinite possibilities for good. You may find and attract that one. But if we really want to, we're going to have to step into the consciousness that goes with expressing our own version of a workout queen, which means healthy eating and working out and making all those changes. But I think sometimes in the science of mind we get mesmerized by the world that we rarely see, that one more time we're simply being entangled in the psychological and forget that we live in a spiritual universe. The psychological continues to pull us back into concerns of the ego. The ego, that part of the ego that's concerned only with maintaining the status quo, which is often influenced by striving and scheming, which then results in bringing us back to where? To where we want to be? No, back to right where we started again. Have you ever noticed that, we make this firm commitment, like, every January 1st, maybe you've stopped doing this, but I remember every year I said, I'm going to do this, set this New Year's resolution, and by March, I'm right back where I was, right? Emerson, in his essays about circles, speaks to that, and Holmes picked up on it as well. But when we understand that we live, move, and have our being in a spiritual universe, then there is really an unconscious invitation being extended to the divine as we understand the divine to be, and that we become willing then to have this power and presence express itself fully in all aspects of life. So one of the books I was dipping into on vacation was a book on Emerson written by Dr. Carol Carnes. So she has a commentary on the essays, and then followed by the essay. One of my favorites is Self-Reliance. And Emerson was a big influence on Ernest Holmes. And Holmes wrote that there's really, there is nothing really broken or damaged, but rather there's a hidden wholeness awaiting our recognition of it. So he said that too. He said that too. Oh, where's my little thing? Well, I guess you'll look at that instead. So God is the power that makes all things new. It knows nothing of the past, only the ever-present now. It does not heal or repair it. It makes things new right now. Therefore, as Dr. Carroll writes, therefore a prayer to ask God to fix a problem lacks power. So remember because we're wishing and hoping on some subtle level. That hope is the unconscious compromise and the subtle illusion, Holmes wrote. Because Emerson wrote that prayer is the contemplation of the facts of life from the highest point of view. It is the soliloquy of a beholding and jubilant soul. Now, that's the rub, isn't it? When we're in the soup, it's difficult to feel like a jubilant soul. And this is why it's important to maintain spiritual practice versus a psychological practice. So a psychological practice starts with reading the newspaper, right? And then getting into the ain't it awful conversation in our head to start our day with. Let's just use this as an example. versus spiritual practice starting out with perhaps inspiring music, inspiring reading, perhaps poetry, or even reading devotional books. Reverend Nancy tells a story about Dr. Raymond Charles Barker, a writer and ran the New York church in the city, about how he read the newspaper every day. I'm going to guess he probably read a few newspapers every day. And then when he was done, this is back when we had newspapers, he would fold the newspaper up, and then he would set it aside and say, "I don't believe a word of it." And this is a guy who served on the board of directors of prestigious companies in New York City. And so we too must find a way to be in the world and not of it. And the trick is to find pleasure in it so that it becomes incorporated in some way into our daily practice. So in this way, then pleasure as self-care, self-care as pleasure. And let me see if I can find you something helpful here. I guess I didn't. Can you pull up the slide on, I'll go like this. Boom, boom, boom. There we go. So if you get to this website, willowstone.org, you'll find 8 steps of self-care. So I'm just going to list 2 of them. One of them, spiritual self-care, connection, prayer, meditation, reflection, attending Sunday worship services, say at Granada Hills Center for Spiritual Living, either in person or online, at 9 o'clock and 10:30 every Sunday, and 7 o'clock on Wednesday evenings, or nature. That was a plug in case you didn't know. And then the physical self-care, right? Sleep or rest, stretching, walking, exercise that feels good, keeping medical appointments, right? So, it's been shown that one of the things that allows women to live longer than men is because they keep medical appointments. Well, actually, they make medical appointments to begin with. So I don't know about you guys. I'm not the best at that. And then, of course, healthy food, which we could all use more of. So I was telling a story earlier. I asked a nutritionist, a friend of mine, became a newly licensed dietitian. I said, "So what is the secret to a healthy diet?" And she said, "If it tastes good, spit it out." All right, so no, cancel. All right, so let's take a breath and release. And just allow ourselves to consider the ways in which we can cultivate pleasure into our life. Not without putting some big, gigantic goal that must be accomplished, but rather as part of our spiritual practice. Stretching. Maybe parking the car at the back end of the grocery store and just walking a little bit. Finding ways to speak in softer tones, to extend kindness to another. To consider ways that we know that we don't have to go anywhere to have a vacation in our own life. To make a commitment today to make some time, create some space just to be. And to consider the things that we are not only grateful for, but that bring us some sense of pleasure. And so we know whatever those are that you've just bubbled up in your consciousness, we're knowing that there is but one power, one presence, one source, one life. It is the intelligence, the creative impulse of life itself. It is the wellspring of love and all that is, acting on our thought, even now, expressing itself as the law of its own being, that thing within that knows only to say yes. And so we just release and allow with deep gratitude and confidence, knowing it's already so. And so it is.
I was a victim of my past and everything I'd ever done, just a prisoner of it all since my childhood days were done. My heart was telling me what I was doing wrong, but I wouldn't listen, and my heartache stayed too long. Keep your head up and your heart open. You'll find better days. You'll find a better way. Don't be thinking 'cause times are tough. Ain't no way, you just gotta hang tough. Keep your head up. Keep your heart open. There's blue skies ahead, there's joy all around. Don't be thinking 'cause you got the blues, you're always gonna be down. I look for answers everywhere, I just want to find a remedy. I looked in the bottle for a while, I found nothing but misery. Then I found me somebody who stayed by my side, stopped me from my downfall with a heart so big and wide. Yeah, just keep your head up and your heart open. You'll see better days, you'll have a better way. And don't be thinking 'cause times are tough, ain't no way, hang tough. Don't be thinking 'cause you got the blues, oh, that's just enough. Yeah, so keep your head up and your heart open. Keep your head up, keep your heart open. Just keep your head up.
So, Teresa, who wrote that song?
Well, funny you should ask. That's a song that we do in my band. My husband wrote that song. It's on one of our CDs, yeah. It sounds a lot different with the band, though.
It sounds a lot. So you can, which CD? It's the Babylon CD.
Here in Babylon. That's the one we got nominated for a Grammy,
Yeah.
actually, for that CD.
It's an excellent CD.
It's
Look for
yeah,
it on
verified.
Apple Music or wherever you buy your music. It's a great song and has some nasty guitar work on it, too. So, in a good way. In the best of ways. In a pleasurable way. All right. So let's invite Chloe to come up as we go into our offering song. Let's do a couple verses. So if you have a gift today, just bring it on up as you can. And for those of you online, you can do so now electronically.
Spirit gives through me, Spirit receives through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, Spirit lives and breathes through me, Spirit gives through us, Spirit receives through us, Spirit lives and breathes through us. Oh, Spirit
take a breath one more time, recognizing this basket represents both the giving consciousness of the individual and the receptive heart of our community. That heart of the individual, that generous heart of the individual, which knows that they know that God is our source, our substance, our supply. So we receive these gifts with deep love, appreciation, and respect, as we know together that these gifts go forth to heal and to bless not only this spiritual community, but anyone connected to it in any way. So from this place of gratitude, we extend a blessing upon our community of Granada Hills, our city of Los Angeles, our state of California, our United States of America, all of its churches, temples, mosques, schools, universities, the people who attend them, the people who support them. That we know for our planet as well, that all is an expression of the first cause, the spiritual cosmic impulse of life making itself known in this manifest world. And to the extent that we know this to be so, we see it demonstrating in ways great and small. This lifts our hearts and propels us into ways of spiritual living that raise not only ourselves, but those around us as well. And that's a good thing. And together we acknowledge this by saying, and so it is. Amen. And so let's give Teresa James some love one more time. Give her some love in the chat as well. I do want to make one clarification because I'm very excited about the fact that this theater, it's not a theater workshop, it's a theater camp. So the kids are going to be here from 9 to noon in August, and they'll get a light meal. And so the idea is just like any other camp that kids go to, I think $150 is good value. So if you don't have any kids to bring in, maybe you'll consider sponsoring family so that they can send their kids. Jenny is fully trained. She used to do this stuff for LA Unified. So she knows what she's doing, and she has a wonderful way with kids. So just like Reverend Nancy does. So praise out, Rev. Good to have you all with us. Happy Father's Day, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Oh, consciousness of gratitude, appreciation for this opportunity that has been gifted to us to spend this time together and know that we go forth to know and to understand that the pleasure of life originates out of that one creator, and we are the avenue through which the newness of being comes forth pleasurably. And with these thoughts and these understandings, we express our gratitude as we say together, and so it is.
If y'all want to join in circle and help me sing this song, right? Let there be peace on earth